What if losing your job turned out to be the most advantageous decision for your career? One VP believed he could sever ties with me while retaining my most significant clients. 2 weeks later, his career was unraveling, $1 million accounts slipping away at a time, and he never anticipated it. This tale transcends mere vengeance. It delves into how a solitary clause in my contract morphed into the costliest blunder my company has ever encountered. Before I unveil the precise method by which I transformed their arrogance into a 7-figure payout, I urge you to subscribe, hit that like button, share this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments, for after this revelation, your perspective on your employment contract will be forever altered. The moment Marcus Reed leaned against my cubicle wall, exuding an air of ownership over the very oxygen around us, I sensed the impending doom of the axe falling. A fresh VP, clad in a polished suit, with a smile so bright it seems almost too pristine for someone who has never known the sting of a missed bonus. "Sweetheart," he says, as one might expect, "your little handshake diplomacy thing? Charming, yet we are transitioning towards a more scalable framework. In essence, you're dismissed, yet I shall deliver this news with a smile, ensuring you perceive it as a form of praise." 10 minutes later, I find myself encased in a glass fishbowl alongside Samantha Torres. Gazing at the severance information packet, they hand it over as if it were a celebratory card. My badge was deactivated before I had even completed the exit form. They present me with a branded tote bag, the logo boldly displayed as if this corporate trinket could somehow mend the reality that they just severed 37 enterprise accounts with a single, careless stroke of the pen. As I strolled by my desk for the final time, I allowed my fingers to glide over the spine of my well-worn Hudson framework binder. That binder has accompanied me through 2 recessions, a pandemic, and countless red-eye flights that would surely alarm my optometrist. Within lies a treasure trove of 15 years' worth of exclusive relationship maps, renewal scripts, and an invaluable reservoir of client trust that transcends what can be captured in Madison's CRM. The very binder he had just deemed replaceable. 3 of those accounts, the whales, feature key person riders embedded within their contracts. My name, rendered in stark contrast of black and white. Sin me no he contrato. Marcus Reed remained utterly unfazed. In the depths of his jargon-filled mind, he believes that AI interactions can substitute for that early morning coffee with a client, the one where you discuss their child's science fair project that you generously supported. A sticky note lingered on my monitor, a silent witness to the passage of years. Kindly refer to Section 12C. It was during a late-night contract review that I penned it, following an attempt by another executive to exclude me from a deal I had successfully secured. That clause serves as my discreet safeguard. As I battled fiercely in a conference room that has faded from memory, a smile crept across my face upon seeing it, for I was already aware that this would unfold into something intriguing. Oh, and before I continue, it seems that a staggering 97% of you are enjoying tales like this without taking a moment to hit that subscribe button. Come on, it's complimentary, and it allows my team to continue dishing out these corporate disasters with a generous helping of extra butter. They believe that silence equates to capitulation. Yet in the stillness, I find myself tallying, marking the days as renewal dates approach, measuring the time until the initial termination notice makes its appearance, observing each misstep they take since entrusting my accounts to someone whose notion of relationship management involves a poorly lit webinar. I neither pleaded nor contested, nor did I cast a glance back at Marcus Reed. He embodies the type of individual who equates victory with the volume of his own voice drowning out yours. My victory will be subtle, marked by paper cuts, deliberate and precise, until he finds himself in a boardroom, questioning why the air seems so sparse. As I stepped outside, the sharp sound of my heels echoed against the tile, while my tote bag swayed gently at my side. The security guard offered me that half-sympathetic nod, the kind typically reserved for those who have just lost their job, though they hardly warranted such misfortune. Within the confines of my mind, I was meticulously charting the forthcoming actions. Revive the Hudson Framework License Agreements. Gather the revenue figures from the past 3 years for those major clients. Ensure that each confidential file finds its rightful backup securely on my side of the fence. Because here lies the truth about being replaceable, dear. Those who claim it never took the time to examine the details closely. What about Section 12C? That is not merely fine print. That's a precarious weapon, poised to unleash chaos at the slightest touch, and now it rests in my hands. As soon as my tote bag settled onto the passenger seat of my car, I was certain of how they would approach the transition of my accounts. As fate would have it, 2 days later, I received news from an old friend who remained entrenched in the inner circle. Marcus Reed had unveiled his ambitious retention strategy, featuring a solitary webinar and a series of mass emails crafted in the style of poorly written press releases. There will be no personal check-ins, no recalling the names of the client's children, and no thank you notes from Brooklyn Heights following contract renewals. Merely polished PDFs and the empty assurance of an individual who believes that engagement is quantified by click-through rates. Riverside Holdings was the first to yield. By blink, I refer to dispatching a meticulously crafted, exceptionally courteous email to the contract's inbox. In accordance with Section 14.2, we are invoking our right to terminate for convenience, effective immediately, due to the change in key personnel. Riverside Holdings was the first to yield. By blink, I refer to dispatching a meticulously crafted, exquisitely courteous email to the contract's inbox. In accordance with Section 14.2, we are invoking our right to terminate for convenience, effective immediately, due to the change in key personnel. A line that, after years of experience, resonates in the measured tones of a lawyer's delivery. It was not so much a farewell as it was a solemn tribute to the enduring legacy of Marcus Reed's career. A laugh escaped me, uncontrollable and genuine. It wasn't precisely that, more akin to the dark irony of witnessing someone set fire to the barn in an attempt to eliminate a mere fly. The revenue generated by that single account surpassed the total salary of his entire department. After 7 years of painstaking effort, I had constructed it meticulously, each brick laid with intention. I found myself on a last-minute flight for dinner, prompted by the unfortunate illness of their procurement officer's husband. I endured a 3-hour opera in a city whose name eluded my tongue, all in pursuit of sealing the renewal deal, and now vanished in the fleeting moment it took them to hit send. I baked a pie, a peach bourbon delight, following my grandmother's cherished recipe. As it emerged from the oven, I elegantly inscribed "Cost of Doing Business" in whipped cream atop the creation and captured the moment in a photograph. I nearly sent it off to their office, yet I concluded that the humor was best kept within the confines of my kitchen. The aspect that would leave them breathless if they were aware? Those key person writers were not merely a whimsical creation of the company. I personally navigated each negotiation, occasionally pulling legal into calls they loathed, and at times, enduring the procurement process until they finally relented. Such occurrences are uncommon in corporate contracts for a specific purpose. Businesses prefer not to be tethered to a living individual. Yet my whales were adamant, for they understood that what they were acquiring transcended mere service. It was, in essence, me. In times gone by, I marked renewal dates on a wall calendar in my cubicle, encircled with a bold stroke of red Sharpie. It served as both a charm and a measure of triumph. The calendar now adorns my home office, its bold, sweeping script revealing the events that lie ahead with clarity. Attention! The renewal notice from Parkview Capital is set to arrive in just 9 days. Empire Ventures, 15. I find no necessity to reach out to them. Time flows unrestrained. In my mind's eye, I can vividly see Marcus Reed in his corner office, pivoting his ergonomic chair to face the window, as he articulates to Jonathan Price that a certain amount of churn is to be expected during times of leadership change. That's what novices refer to as the loss of a customer you believed was a guaranteed listener. Those of us in the know refer to it as a slow bleed, and this was merely the initial drop. That evening, I delved into my dusty archives, revisiting the tales of the writers once more. Immaculate, precise, sealed tight. I crafted them to endure not only poor leadership, but also leadership so steeped in arrogance that it failed to recognize its own shortcomings. The whales were perfectly capable of navigating their own paths without my intervention. They were well acquainted with the routine. My departure wasn't merely a hiccup, it was a tripwire. 3 days later, my personal phone vibrated with an unfamiliar number lighting up the screen. Upon answering, I recognized a voice that was both familiar and inviting, steady yet rich with unspoken meaning. "Hello, I wanted to reach out and see how things are going. Are you all right?" A question that had nothing to do with my well-being whatsoever. They were inquiring, albeit with a certain courtesy, to determine my availability. I beamed into the receiver. The crimson tide had commenced. And there's nothing that management despises more than coming to the grim realization that the wound will not heal. The silence quickly transformed into a palpable presence, a subtle hum that lingered in the air, reminiscent of the stillness before a storm breaks. 9 days following Riverside Holdings' departure, Parkview Capital issued their own formal farewell. Devoid of feeling. Concise and straightforward. "We hereby notify you that, in accordance with Section 11B, we are terminating effective immediately due to a change in key personnel." They refrained from inquiring about the transition plan, fully aware that none existed. That account had been my cherished creation since the ink dried on its inaugural contract. I managed to persuade their CFO to renew during the 2009 downturn by sending him a thoughtful care package that included bourbon and the precise cigars he had enjoyed at his wedding. Now, the whole arrangement dissolved into the legal ether with a mere click of a mouse. Empire Ventures took the initiative, not waiting for their renewal date. For days later, the termination notice found its way into legal's inbox, time-stamped just before lunchtime, and I could easily envision the paralegal perusing it while enjoying a turkey sandwich. The same rationale has been referenced. Identical signature block. Another 7-figure account vanished, leaving Marcus Reed with nothing but a webinar replay that few bothered to view beyond slide 4. Within those walls, chaos reigned supreme. My friend in operations likened it to witnessing a kitchen engulfed in flames while the head chef adamantly claims the aroma is perfectly acceptable. Leadership initiated a swift response plan, a euphemism for a series of interminable meetings where participants debated messaging rather than addressing the fundamental issue. Clients were not purchasing services. They were acquiring me. That was the moment when the true hilarity began. Jonathan Price's assistant, a figure who had remained silent in our years of coexistence, dispatched an email bearing the subject, "Urgent, need your attention scripts ASAP." There was no greeting, no inquiry about well-being. It's merely an assumption that I would abandon all I've worked for and relinquish the one thing I've strived to protect, the Hudson Framework. Unbeknownst to them, those scripts were not the property of the company. Annually, without exception, I granted them a license to the company for a duration of 12 months at a rate that had been carefully negotiated. The rate found its way into an additional services clause within my contract, approved by previous counsel who possessed the ability to comprehend its implications. The moment they escorted me out was precisely when that license came to an end. I chose not to respond. Instead, I retrieved my own documents from storage, work logs, email threads, the signed Hudson Framework license addenda spanning the last 10 years. Every individual was characterized by a methodology that originated from the employee, licensed rather than assigned. My performance reviews corroborated this as well. Her proprietary relationship framework has led to X% retention and Y% upsell. They displayed no hesitation in labeling it proprietary. They simply took it for granted that proprietary equated to ours. I scattered the documents across my dining table, reminiscent of a general meticulously arranging his strategies for battle. This was not an act of revenge. It was a matter of preservation. One does not take action until every receipt, every signature, every timestamp has been meticulously indexed. Suddenly, my phone illuminated the darkness. Caller identification. The organization. I nearly allowed it to slip into voicemail. Yet my curiosity proved too compelling to resist. According to your contract, Jonathan Price's voice cut through the air before I had the chance to greet him. You are obligated to return at once. One may pursue legal action to enforce compliance if deemed essential. His tone was a blend of gravel and caffeine, the sort of voice that emerges from a man who has spent too many sleepless nights coming to terms with the fact that he placed his bets on the wrong horse. I allowed him to speak. Allow him to believe he was the one setting the conditions. I chose not to correct him. Section 12C loomed in my copy of the contract, highlighted ominously like a loaded trap, yet I failed to mention it. In place of the anticipated, I offered him something entirely unforeseen. Very well, I replied. Shall we peruse the contract together? The stillness that ensued was not one of bewilderment. Rather, it was the subtle recognition of a man treading upon fragile ice, blissfully unaware of its impending fracture. An invitation appeared on my calendar, marked with the ominous title, Emergency Strategy Session, Mandatory Attendance. I acquiesced in silence and responded succinctly, Please confirm counsel will be present. I had no intention of entering their boardroom without a witness, someone whose role was to interpret the very language I was about to present to them. That morning, I adorned myself in the manner befitting a warrior preparing for battle, yet with the subtlety of one heading to a leisurely brunch, a neutral silk blouse paired with a navy blazer, and the only adornment being my wedding band. I held 2 items. A sleek leather folio containing 3 immaculate copies of my employment agreement, and a distinct folder labeled boldly in block Sharpie. The Hudson Framework license agreements are now fully finalized. The folio served merely as a display piece. The folder served as the loaded weapon. Jonathan Price sat at the head of the table, his tie slightly askew, cradling a paper cup of coffee instead of his customary stainless tumbler. Marcus Reed was present as well, reclining with that smirk that conveys this is merely a formality. Samantha Torres from HR sat quietly to the side, her lips pressed together in contemplation. I pushed the contracts across the table to Jonathan Price, the counsel, and Samantha Torres. 2 sticky flags have been placed, one marking Section 12C and the other highlighting Exhibit D. Counsel's gaze flickered across the page, then hesitated, then came to a halt. The VP's smirk wavered. Did you dismiss her without justification? The counsel inquired. There has been an unsettling quiet from HR. The calculations began to take shape in his mind. 3 whales valued in the high 7 figures, multiplied by a 2.5 buyout, in addition to statutory damages for the deliberate infringement of the Hudson Framework's intellectual property. Operations exacerbated the situation. Indeed, we utilized her Hudson scripts last week. All eyes were upon me. I glided past the final signed Hudson Framework license, its validity having lapsed the very day I departed, trailing behind it the access logs. Internet Protocol addresses. Identifiers for users. Chronological markers. The counsel perused them. Gazed upward. It does not belong to you, he stated bluntly to Marcus Reed. Upon the table, I set down 2 envelopes. Option A. Engage my services as an independent consultant at a rate of $900 per hour, with a minimum commitment of 200 hours to be paid in advance. Marcus Reed will step down. A public apology will be issued regarding the misclassification of roles. The Hudson Framework license has been renewed for a duration of 12 months, now at 3 times the previous rate. Please ensure the invoice is settled today. Option B. I align myself with a competitor already engaged with Riverside Holdings, Parkview Capital, and Empire Ventures. Please wire the buyout along with infringement damages by Friday at 5 p.m. There shall be no negotiations. Marcus Reed attempted to shout extortion. The attorney silenced him by reciting Exhibit D with clarity. The Hudson proprietary methodology, subject to annual licensing through mutual agreement, retains ownership with the account holder who originated it as an employee. No one dared to grasp the heftier envelope. There was no necessity for them to do so. When the wire finally landed in my account, my old badge had lost its power to unlock the lobby turnstile. The whales did not select your logo, I informed them. They selected me, and my competitor's welcome packet was already nestled in my car. Heartfelt gratitude for tuning in, you clever seniors. Subscribe to ensure the coffee pot continues to brew a potent blend of revenge. Your former colleagues won't see it coming.